Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we're talking about the final Grandmaster Nightfall before Lightfall, Warden of Nothing, and this week's Nightfall weapon drop, Wendigo. This is the first and only chance we will have to farm the Adept version of the Wendigo this season, and with next season's significant grenade launcher buffs, this is going to be a weapon you are not going to want to miss. Grenade launchers haven't been in a great place for a while, but with a 20% damage increase to bosses and champions, and a 40% damage increase to minor enemies, along with the linear fusion rifle nerfs, grenade launchers are looking to have a great chance to see hugely increased usage next season. The role I'm going to be on the lookout for is spike grenades with autoloading holster and explosive light. Clown cartridge and field prep have some value as well in the third column, while full court and cascade point could have some intrigue in the right scenario in the fourth slot, but I feel like autoloading and explosive light is going to be the most consistent option across a multitude of possible scenarios for this weapon, with spike grenades just adding extra impact damage on top. Now let's talk about this week's Nightfall, Warden of Nothing. As with every Nightfall this season, Loosen Finisher on at least one person to make heavy on champion finishes should be an auto-include in your builds. This GM is the only one that actually has all three champion types, so I found the best course of action is to have each person covering two champion types, and making sure there's at least two people covering each type of champion. At least one of your barrier players on Arbalist will make short work of the anti-barrier champions, with pulse rifles and bows as additional options. Grenade launchers and hand cannons for unstoppable champions, and scouts, SMGs, or auto rifles for overloads are your options there. Do note that if you're on Void or Stasis, you can add in Lord Kelvin's Basilisk to make your Void Grenade or Stasis Grenade stun overloads, and if you're on Arc or Stasis, you can additionally stun Unstoppables with your melees using Low Entropy Superconductor. Also, this strike has Solar Burn, and the boss room is easily meltable, but can go super off the rails if for some reason you don't melt it, so solar rocket launchers such as Galahorn or other legendary variants are highly recommended. And even if you don't have a solar rocket for some reason, rockets in general will still make quick work of this final boss, but I would still recommend at least one person run Galahorn if possible for the Wolfpack rounds. To start the strike, there will be a room with a couple rounds of small adds and an overload towards the back. Take out the rounds of small adds first, and then focus on the overload if and when it starts to push at you. The next section will have the multiple areas of trains. For the first train, I usually like to just hug the right wall, and then move once a train has passed me. You can jump over the first train when you first get into the room in order to get through this room a bit faster, but I'm of the mindset that I'd rather something take an additional 5 seconds and be completely safe than to add any additional risk of dying just to save those few seconds. The second set of trains will have alternating trains coming from down the track. I like to just wait up top and figure out which train is coming, and then use that side's path to make it through to the next area, as the following train will always be on the opposite side of the previous train. The next area has an Unstoppable, a Hydra, a few small adds, and a barrier champion. Just take them down one at a time, and don't be afraid to use heavy, as you can always get more back when using the Loosen Finisher mod, and that's going to be a key for both this GM and really all the GMs this season, if there's any you still haven't done, is that heavy is extremely plentiful and should be used and maximized along with this Loosen Finisher mod that we have access to this season. After defeating this barrier, going on the top left path above where the train goes through will allow you to get to the far side of this room safely. Here, there will be another Unstoppable champion and barrier champion to take down. If you do end up getting finishers on these two, and I would recommend trying to, you can even easily come back here later to grab this heavy if needed while fighting in the upcoming room. This next room is one of the two more difficult areas in the strike. There will be a Hydra with quite a few weaker adds in the middle, along with a barrier hobgoblin on the top right platform, as well as a barrier goblin on the left side of the room. Using some supers here can be useful, and if running well, I like to plant it behind the cover when you first come into the area. This will allow you for you to easily take down the adds and the Hydra in the middle, and then you can work on the two barriers. I'd recommend just making sure to melt the right barrier ASAP so you don't get cross-sniped, and then work on the left barrier second. You can try to finish the left barrier if you want, but don't forget that if you left heavy in the previous room, it may be safer to just go back and grab it and not worry about finishing this champion. Also note that there will be a lot of finisher opportunities coming up after this room as well if you do run out of heavy. Once you defeat enough enemies, the boss will spawn in. Melt it with a few heavy shots or supers, and everything else will despawn, allowing you into the airlift and the next section of the strike. This area is fairly straightforward. Take out the few enemies in front of you and stay in this back room that you first come into, allowing the 2 unstoppables to push towards you. Stun them once they're close enough to take down, and easily finish them off with finishers to top off any heavy you may have lost in the previous room. Do note that once you move forward, there's a few snipers on the bridges above that can hurt if not dealt with, so look to take these down first when moving forward. At the end of this room is another lift to bring you into the mine room. There's a total of 5 champions here when you first spawn in: an Unstoppable, an Overload, and 3 anti-barrier champions. There's also a few weaker adds and a few snipers on the right side. Try to take out these snipers, as well as the explosive barrels in front of you to start, and then be ready to kill either the Overload or the Unstoppable, whichever pushes you first. Or if they both push you, then just get ready to take them down both. Don't be too worried about finishing these 2, just make sure that you get them down ASAP, as these are really the only champions at this part that are going to provide any threat. Next, work on the Cabal barrier first, and then turn your attention to the 2 Hobgoblin barrier champions. These are all much less threatening, as they don't really move from where they start, so going for the finisher on all 3 of them to top off your heavy, and to have heavy for at the end of this room is a good strategy. Once you take down the final enemy here, you will start the mines phase. For the strategy that we use, completely ignore the first mine to start, and then take out the 3 goblins coming out the right side door, if you're looking at the mine from the exit, and then get ready to take down the barrier champion coming out the left door, as well as the unstoppable champion that pushes you from down the left long hallway. Finisher these if you can for even more heavy, but assuming you got finishers on the previous barriers, it shouldn't matter too much either way. After taking down the 2 champions, have 2 players push towards where the left side mine will be, and start taking out all the enemies here. The 3rd player will start defusing the mine. Take your time on the mine, as you have 60 seconds, and that time actually stops anytime you're standing on the mine, as this will give your team plenty of time to clear out the adds and get situated for the next mine. Once you finish mine A, mines B and C will spawn in. 2 players should already be at mine B, so you can immediately start capturing this. After capturing point B, start moving towards C. If you have a Void Hunter with invisibility, you can easily go invisible and just cap the point with that. If you have things like Well or Bubble, you can use those to your advantage here as well. If you're using roaming supers, again, you can use those to take out some of the adds, both on the way to the point, as well as while you're standing on the point. Long story short, just use your supers here and you should have no issues. After capping the final point, a mini-boss will spawn in the middle of the arena. Take it down to finish this section of the strike, and don't forget to pick up any extra heavy ammo you had laying around previously. Once you make it into the elevator section down into the boss room, just have one person open the chest and get locked into the bubble, and go down this elevator one at a time. This is because there is a common glitch where you can kill each other going down this tube if you're stacked right on top of each other. At the bottom platform, you can take down both the Overload and Unstoppable from here, and then proceed down into the boss room itself to take down the 2 barrier champions. Again, if you need heavy, make sure to finish these champions. Now for the easy part. The boss will spawn in and you will want to immediately burn it down. Supers and rockets should be all you're using here to take down this boss in just a few seconds. Do note that if you take a few extra seconds, the boss can teleport to the sides of the room, so in this case just keep focusing damage on the boss until it is defeated. Congratulations, you've completed the final GM for Season of the Seraph. I hope this guide helped you complete and potentially farm out this Nightfall for Wendigo this week. I will see all of you with more guides next week with the release of Lightfall, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.